Hello and welcome to City of Angels, Conversations That Heal LA, the show where we talk all things spirituality, metaphysics, and personal growth. I'm Stefan Lovegrove.
And I am Suzanne Quast, and today we're talking about authenticity. Boldly owning who you are and carving a career path that's in alignment with that. And our next guest is the epitome of that. She is not only my friend, but she is the most authentic person I know. Maybe I'll say the funniest.
Ooh.
Right? One of the most hardworking and trailblazers. And I'm so honored to have you here today, Crystal Marie DENHA.
What an introduction.
Right?
Wow. Susan, that was like perfectly done.
Thank you.
In one take, so you know it was genuine.
Okay, we're live, so that wasn't take 23.
Oh, okay, great.
We're live.
Well, you started off as a host.
Yes.
And she's been on, for those of you who don't know, Extra, ESPN, HLN, Fox News, CNN, The Fumble.
I've never been on whatever one of them, so one of them I wasn't on, but yes.
Right? And now,
But that's intimidating because you used to be on the other side of every interview. So what was your pet peeve of a guest at the time? Before we get into the inspiration.
We're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah.
She was still complimenting me, but you want to get right into questions. Okay.
I do. I have so
pet
many
peeve,
questions, Crystal.
A lot of times celebrities will come on a red carpet and they'll give us a lot of rules. You can't ask about this, you can't ask about that, you have to only talk about the movie, which is fine because a lot of times you're there to promote a movie for them. But I think there also needs to be an understanding that, you know, you chose a career where you don't really get that much of a private life. Now, if people are like trying to like dig and create rumors just to sell papers or for you to get clicks, that's a different story. But, you know, if I want to know, hey, you know, Brad Pitt, how's it going with you and Angelina?
You want to know?
yeah, but I mean, that would probably be off limits.
But you're dating one of the biggest celebrities in the world.
You should
Do you
talk
know what
about
I mean?
it.
You shouldn't have to talk about it, but I'm just saying don't get upset. You could just say, she's great. Just leave it but don't get upset or make rules where you're going to get someone.
Right.
You know, like Matt Damon, he wants his private life to be private, so he ended up with a woman that isn't famous, who does not like the limelight. And I think that worked really well for him. I'm not saying you can only chase non-famous people, but I think that if there's a certain lifestyle you want, maybe dating a fellow A-list celebrity isn't the best idea.
Got it. Well, I feel like you break the rules. And so I can't imagine that on the red carpet that you were traditional in the sense that any female host is. And I mean that in the best possible way.
I got in trouble a lot.
But
Did you?
Okay, well, let's spill the tea on that.
Well, I think, you know, if we're having a conversation and it's going well and they're enjoying my interview, I then kind of feel like, okay, well, maybe I'll venture into deeper waters and see just what happens, you know? And they'll either just stop the interview or they'll go with it. Michael Keaton was such a good sport. He's probably my favorite interview of all time.
Why? What was the interview?
Because I just hit on him the whole interview. Because I started interviewing
I'm
him.
sure he was flattered.
Well, it was during Birdman when everything
Okay.
happened
So
with
good.
Birdman. So he had done probably like 1,000 interviews that week, okay? And you could tell, like, as I was asking him the generic ass questions that my producer at the time gave me, he already started saying the answer before I could finish the question. Because obviously he had heard the question a bazillion times.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, Michael,
We're going off script.
I'm just going to tell you. I mean, the older you get, the more attractive you are. And I loved you in Batman, and you're my favorite Batman. And I just went on and on and on. And it was funny, and he really handled it well. And he was a good sport about it. And it made for a good interview because then it was, I think for him also it was kind of refreshing because he was like, oh, finally, someone with a personality, you know? And a lot of these reporters have great personalities, and that's why they're hired. But once you get to the point of doing like a primetime TV show or like the top entertainment news programs, you have to be careful and you have to keep publicists happy by asking the questions that you're told you have to ask. But for these poor celebrities, it's
But didn't you
exhausting.
do then a combination of both, where you're asking what's supposed to be asked, but then putting in your own flair and your own personality?
Right.
And how did you then have the confidence also to not only start that way, but to continue that way when you were you getting pressured to
When
be a
I
certain
started,
way?
I was on like a rinky-dink entertainment news show that was on the internet that no one watched.
Okay.
So I would get interviews like Snooki and like reality TV stars that didn't care what you asked them and just
Sure.
wanted to have a good interview and have a good time and make good TV, because that's what reality TV stars do, right?
Yep.
So I was able to ask them whatever I wanted, and they did it, and it was fun. And those were what kind of paved the way for me, because then people were like, oh, she's so fun. Like, look how much fun these celebrities are having in these interviews. And then when I worked really hard to try to get like to bigger news programs, I had to be more careful. And that was when I realized this really isn't the field I want to end up in. Interviewing celebrities wasn't really for me anymore. So it took me getting to where I thought I wanted to be, what my dream job was, to realize, you know what? This isn't really what I dreamt of. I dreamt of it, but I dreamt that I would be feeling a lot different, that I'd be enjoying it more, you know?
Which I want to talk about, because so many people talk about living the dream as if it's this one thing. And for your 70, 80 years of life, the dream is one thing. But I think so many people, especially in this town, there's something in their mind that they think it's going to be. And then they get there and they are, in a sense, living the dream, but it's not what they thought. And I've heard you talk about that with Extra, which you used to think was like, this is what I want to do as a host, like to end up on one of these shows. So how was it processing that for you? I thought I wanted this, now I'm doing it, maybe not so much.
Well, I've just always been taught, like, work really hard. If you work really hard, you're going to get what you want. And I do believe that. I feel like if you put it out into the universe, you can manifest whatever you want, but you have to put the work into it. And so I thought I was taking all the necessary steps to get what I wanted, and that the end goal would be like I would be a lot happier as a person, and then I would be more fulfilled throughout, you know, the rest of my life. But the problem with that is you start somewhere and then you think, okay, I got to get to the top of the totem pole, because I already started and I'm already here and I'm good at it. So if I'm good at it, why not go to the end and hit the goal of what every other news reporter wants, you know, primetime TV.
Yep.
And so you have that in your head. And then you get there and you're like, oh, shoot.
You can swear.
It's okay.
Oh, shoot.
Shucks.
Well, you know, when I met with the senior executive producer for Extra, I only did one special correspondent job for them, by the way. When I met with her, she was just she's someone you should definitely have on the show. She's so down to earth, so authentic, so genuine. First thing she said to me was, you should be doing stand-up comedy. I don't know why why are you doing this? You
Did
know,
that
and-
surprise you
yeah.
at the time? What was your reaction?
Well, at that point, everyone told me I should be doing stand-up. Like,
Okay, so that was a normal thing to
And
hear.
I was like, I thought the whole point of doing stand-up is to get on TV. I'm already on TV. And so after she told me that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it, because I wanted to impress her, because I respected her. And so I went and I tried it, and I was like, this is the greatest feeling in the world.
It's a high.
Oh my God, it was amazing. And then also it gives you this platform, stand-up, that being a news reporter doing entertainment news does not give you, because you're giving everyone else a platform as a TV host. You're giving the celebrities a platform. With stand-up, you have your own platform. You talk about whatever you want. You talk about your experiences, how you've become better through them. You just find the humor in everything you've been through, which is so
cathartic,
therapeutic.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, but how do you then have the courage, you're at your dream job, to then say, stand-up maybe is something I want to pursue, and then to start at the very bottom? I mean, that's a
hard.
ballsy move.
The best thing that could have happened to me, though, and this is really honest to God the truth, thank God I didn't start stand-up in my 20s. Because I had no idea who I was as a person, and I had a very false sense of confidence. I thought I was confident. People were always like, oh, she's so confident, you know? How does she have that, you know, level of confidence? But it was false. I was very insecure. I didn't really become, you know, confident in myself until my 30s. So, and then I actually had, you know, a story to tell. And I was able to kind of heal, because if you're not healed from anything that's happened to you in the past, it's hard to talk about it on stage. It's hard for you to find the funny in it. So,
And I think that's such an important distinction, because I think confidence is an inner strength. It's not a personality trait. And a lot of the people, it might be cockiness, or it might be like they're outspoken, they're loud. But I think a lot of what people perceive externally as confidence is still a lot of insecurity going on the inside.
Right.
And I think all the time, like, thank God I didn't get a platform when I was 19, and, you know, and
no, it's so true.
You know, and don't know who you are. And
It's crazy. No, I honestly feel like now my career is taking off And everyone's like, do you wish it would have taken off sooner? And I'm like, no, I would not have been ready for it. Like, I'm sure
I love that.
I'm sure if 10 years ago you asked me, I'd be like, I want it to happen now. I'm ready.
But how did you then get to that point of feeling like you're actually confident? What work did you do on yourself to get to that point?
I read like 1,000,000 self-help books.
Okay.
And it was Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within that I think spoke to me the most. As cheesy as that's gonna sound to some
love
people,
Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I love self-help books.
Me
so
too.
Those a lot of times I'll read books and I'll only get like one chapter that'll speak to me, but that one chapter will speak to me so much where I'm like, I carry that in my life now to this day. So I read that book right when I started stand-up, and it teaches you how to approach a career path properly, because I've always been good at just like public speaking. So because of that, I was like, I don't really need to put in as much work as everyone else. It's like the kids in school who don't have to study as hard for a test.
Right.
Or who are really athletic,
Right.
and then they don't have to practice as hard.
Right. Public speaking has been the only thing that's ever come that easy to me. And so if I would have applied myself a little bit differently in the sense where it's like, okay, I do have a head start. So if I were to put in the same amount of work everyone else did with this head start, I could be, you know, the Usain Bolt of TV. If you guys know who he's like,
I do.
He
yes.
wins everything.
Yes.
He wins everything. So, so with stand up, I was like, okay, I already have the advantage where I already know how to work a room. You know, I had done crowd warm up before, so.
Where had you done crowd warm up?
So I got hired through like HBO to do crowd warm up for like a red carpet.
Okay.
So for like 3 hours straight, I had to do crowd warm up for a crowd, which is one of the most challenging things I've ever done. But it was at that point where I was like, God, I'm so good at this.
No, but it's so important, don't you think, to pay attention to those moments.
Right.
Of like, whoa, this comes so naturally.
It's so
I love
important
this.
to pay attention to your wins, because in this industry, there's not a lot of wins that you'll get in the beginning. So I make sure to really hold on to those wins. But it is the losses, and people always say this, and I'm always like, no, I can't handle it. But it is the losses, and it's me bombing on stage that teaches me the most. So it's great to feel those wins and feel good about yourself and remember those things, especially when you do have, like when I'll have a set on stage where I'm like, oh, that was just horrible.
When you have a set like that, what is the conversation then you have with yourself later?
Well, my first time, that week I had the best set of my life, and then immediately after I had the worst set of my life. So I went into that set so full of myself where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm this good already. I'm never gonna bomb. You know, I hadn't bombed yet, and it was like 6 months in.
That's still pretty impressive, for the record, that you had not bombed.
You'd be
6
surprised
months
how
in.
many people don't bomb like their first. There's a lot of people that it takes a minute until they bomb, you know?
Okay.
Interesting.
Because they play it safe, they know what to do. And I had played it safe up to this point until then I got super cocky, and all the rules that I had remembered, like you don't start with a new joke, you don't want to start with anything too dark. Those things never work for me because I go out on stage with my titties out. So the second they see that I'm not confident, nothing I say is going to be believable. So, you know, I went out and I was like, this is going to be so easy. I had done really well in that same room multiple times. And what's so sad is there was like a fellow comic there that I really liked, and I was like, oh, you're going to want to see this. Don't leave.
Oh, God. This is a great story. Okay, so
I go on stage. I got 0 laughs. It felt like I was drowning, and they were all just pointing at me and laughing.
And how long is that? Because that could feel like an eternity.
At that point, like I was only getting like 7 or 8 minutes.
Still.
And I had begged the promoter. I said, please give me more time. And he was like, okay, I'll give you 10 minutes. I fucking got off at 7. Oh, sorry, I can't say that word. I got off in 7. I got off right when I got the light. So I still had like an additional 2 minutes, but I was like, no, I got the light. The light was like my saving grace. I was like, all right, well, thanks guys, this was great. And it was just humiliating. And the poor guy that I asked to watch my set came up to me afterwards and was like, great set. And I was like, and to this day, he tells everyone I'm horrible at stand-up. So I was like, God, just come watch me again.
Right.
But that's the, you know, that's the beauty in stand-up.
Yeah, but good for you for having not only the ability to brush yourself off, have the confidence to say, no, I'm just going to work that much harder. Or I'm going to find, I think you said something to the effect of finding a joke that always works.
Yeah, that was so important. A lot of comics will have a joke where, like, when I watched a lot of comedy when I started, just to like learn from all the successful people, because I always look at it like to help you start a new career path, you find someone that you look up to, you figure out what they did to get to where they are. And someone I really looked up to who's special, I just loved and laughed so hard at, was Anthony Jeselnik, who's just a brilliant comic. So I just tried to, and it could have been that half the stuff I read about him wasn't even true, but I found out who he coached with. I found out what books he was reading, what methods he does, and I followed all of them. And it was helpful. Again, you have to find your own journey, but it's nice to see what people you look up to did and see if you can apply it to your life and if it's effective for you.
I think that's great advice for anyone in any industry.
Yeah, it helps you skip the line a little bit, because it's like they went through all these mistakes that you don't have to go through, because you're like, okay, so that's a waste of time. So this, but there are some things where people told me you don't need to do that. Like people told me not to take stand-up classes, and I'm glad that I did.
But it benefited you.
Well, I met a lot of great people who I'm still friends with now, and it did. It benefited me. It was nice to get up and learn to take, like, I didn't agree with anything the teacher said to me, but
But you learned.
you have to learn to take that sort of criticism with a grain of salt. Because as a woman in stand-up, every time I have a set, someone wants to come and give me notes.
Really?
You should do this, or you should do that. And sometimes it's very helpful, but sometimes it's like offensive.
Who
It's
are
like,
these
get out of my
people
face.
giving you notes?
But that's just what comics do.
So it's other comics.
Yeah, they'll come up and they'll be like, this was great, you should try doing it this way, or you should, you sound too dark, or you sound mean, or you sound, there's different things that they've said, but they're trying to be helpful, genuinely helpful.
I think it's so important to learn how to filter. There's so many people that could speak into your life and into your career. And I think you got to learn to filter. This is relevant. I'm going to take this.
Right.
This is not for me. And speaking of influences, I'm very curious about this. I love that you love self-help, but you're not like an airy fairy unicorn person, which we love those on our show too.
Agreed.
But I love that you're a straight up, like, I'm going to tell it like it is person that likes self-help. What are some influences of yours that would surprise us?
The book, I'm Catholic, I was raised Catholic. I still go to church, occasionally, not that often, but the Book of Kabbalah really helped me.
I read
I
that.
heard you say that.
Actually, I got Suzanne to read it.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. Actually, I think you sent it to me.
Yeah, I sent it to you.
You did.
Well, I've always had issues with anger, like anger issues, and I have a problem where I would constantly react to things very quickly and overthink things and let someone say something to me that would then ruin my day, sometimes my entire week. That book helped me to stop reacting and to realize that all my energy is being drained by something negative. So now I only react if it gives a positive reaction versus a negative. I mean, I'm still human.
Yeah.
But so like still, I mean, if someone like is really poking the bear, it's a different story. But I react a lot less than I used to, and it's really helped in my life and my overall happiness, my career. Because a lot of times, like every job I've ever had, people have always said, you have a really polarizing personality. You come across mean. Now, if I was a man, no one would complain
Think
or say
twice
anything.
about it.
Right.
But as a woman, it was always like I felt like I had to tiptoe. I felt like people just never liked me because I'm an ethnic woman. I'm very outspoken, and I noticed a lot of it was also as a result of me always feeling like I needed to defend myself in situations where it was just like a lot of things I could just let go. And I would rather put that energy towards things that were worth fighting for or fighting about. And that helped me a lot, especially going into stand-up, because when you're a new stand-up comedian, people have a lot to say about you. Especially if you come from another field that you were successful in. They don't understand why you have to come into their turf. You already made money
Stay
here.
in your own
Yeah,
space.
you already,
Don't come to
you're
ours.
already successful here. Why do you have to come here and take our spots, or whatever it is that goes through some people's minds? And I understand. I have empathy for those people, but at the same time, I think it's good to have someone light a fire under your ass. Like, oh, she's coming. She's doing something that I could do. Or, like, I'm never the type that's like, why'd she get that instead of me? I hear a lot of people constantly say that in the entertainment industry. And I always look at it as like, well, if she could do it, you could do it.
Right.
And there's enough. There's
Yeah.
enough to go
For
around.
everyone. It's crazy.
But what a beautiful philosophy that you have, because you're right. A lot of comedians don't have that, I think, because it's super competitive.
Yeah.
But then also, you're not competitive with women either. You support
No,
women.
but it took me a while to get there. I'll be honest with you. In my 20s, I was very competitive, and I thought that's the way I needed to be in this industry. And now being in my 30s again, because now I'm like a grown-up, I'm all about supporting women, uplifting women, helping us to forgive people for what's in their past. I think a lot of people in the world now, we're maybe a little bit crappy before, and they feel like they'll never be forgiven for that, and people aren't going to let that go. And because of that, they don't change and become better people. And I think that it's so important to have faith in people and have faith that they're going to do the right thing, unless they've murdered someone. That's different.
Yeah, or a pedophile.
I agree. I think that we collectively, this is a controversial discussion that I love we're having. I think that we collectively are raising the bar on a lot of things in society, and I think that there is some room for forgiveness and patience and grace in everybody rising up there.
Because if no one ever has someone that has faith in them, why would they change? Why would they get better?
And if you're villainized, why would you change?
And isn't that the end goal? We want the world to be a better place. We want more compassion in the world. We want more acceptance for people who are different. And in order to have that, we can't just alienate and give up on the people who were crappy before. We need to teach them how to be right. Because again, the world is changing and it's evolving, and what was acceptable 10 years ago is no longer acceptable. But if you were told as a society it was okay 10 years ago, and now you're being told it's not okay, and what you did do when it was okay, you're not going to be forgiven for, I don't think it's fair. I think we need to, again, have faith in people, show them the way, so then there's less of this and more of this.
Oh my God, what a beautiful message. Like your motivational speaking is just, it's happening as we speak.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm dropping my papers.
All right, let's lighten it up.
We have a speed round of questions we got to get through quickly for sake of time today.
Okay. We could literally talk to you all day.
I know,
but
it's crazy. I'm so good at this.
You're so interesting.
You're
Actually,
so
really
good at this. You are.
Okay, so rapid fire questions.
Sure.
What is a song on your playlist right now?
I just downloaded Bryan Adams.
Okay, I wouldn't have pegged you for Bryan Adams.
I know, it's crazy. I like him more than Drake. So
I like being surprised by guests,
right?
So
I like that song, Please Forgive Me. I know not what, which I don't know why, because I'm not asking for forgiveness from anyone, but I just downloaded that, so I love that song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best book you've read recently?
Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within.
Okay. Favorite podcast?
I don't listen to podcasts.
What about the one you were just on?
Oh, The Deck Report?
There you go.
It's definitely not my favorite.
Thank you for the honesty.
It's all about
Shout
sports.
out.
It's all about sports, and I
Fair
just
enough.
could care less.
Thing you're most proud of?
My career in comedy. Like, I'm proud of myself for the way I've approached it and handled myself in the industry.
And then if you had one message to send to the world in 30 seconds, what would it be?
It would be to have faith in people. Pretty much what we just said. Have faith in people. Have faith that they're going to do the right thing. Forgive. Show them the way. Lead by example.
Amen. And have a little fun along the way.
Make
people
fun.
laugh.
Make people laugh.
Thank
Awesome.
you guys. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. We could have continued talking all day with Crystal. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And we have an amazing guest coming up next.
We'll see you back
Not
for
as
episode
amazing
5.
as me, though.